Okay, we're up to Ayin Zion on the base at the bottom. But before we begin, I just want to go over a Marsha I spoke at yesterday because I said something that was wrong, and I want for the record that it should be correct. The Marsha asked a very, very good question. He said, Boaz, many years before, had gone ahead and paskin Mayavi V'lomi Avia. He gave a psak and he married Rus based upon that psak. So the question is, how could Doeg in the future then go ahead and say, whatever reason he had, again, it doesn't make a difference because he had paskin. This is the psak Mayavi V'lomi Avia, and this is Masari. This is what he had. So how could Doeg disagree? We asked another question: is how is it possible for the Goyal who took precedence over Boaz, who was closer, Ploni Almoni or Tov, who was the uncle, who should have gone ahead and be Miyabim. Again, that type of even they did over Boaz. He when Boaz tells him, go ahead, do it, she goes, I'm worried about my children. Now, if the Isra is Mayav, why does he worry about himself? It's also for him to marry. What? I'm only worried about the pagam to my children, that if I marry her, what's going to be my children? What about yourself? So the Mashal gave a very unbelievable terrace. What do you say? The Marsha said that the MS, you're not going ahead and working mitoras the din of the mitzvah of Yibum. You're working through the din of asay dochalos asay. We had a sugya. If a kohen gadol's brother dies and almana falls to him, and she's a basula, meaning she's falling from erison. So the mitzvah asay of Yibum, does it supersede the lois asay of marrying almana? She's a basula, so it's not a problem. So why don't we say asay dochalos asay? This is a lav that doesn't have karis. So the asay should be dochalos asay. And we answered that the reason why we want to do bia rishayna, that you make him do a bia shniya. Said the Marsha, at that time yet they weren't goyza bia rishayna to bia shniya. They had not been goyza that. In other words, the first bia was permitted. So Boaz, the Ploni Almoni, felt Boaz was marrying her because of that din of asay dochalos asay. The asay of Yibum being dochalos asay of lo yavay amoin u'moavis b'kal Hashem. But a movi is asa. But you're superseding it because it's a mitzvah say of Yibum, right? So therefore, if he had lived with her a second time, that would have been a proof that it was al smo of a milovia. What happened? Boaz died the next day. He only lived with her one time. So Mamela from generations, it was passed down that in fact, that never had the psak of loymavi lamavia. So Doeg therefore was able to go ahead and raise that question about the lineage. And then they sent her to Bezna Shmuel, and Shmuel said, Kach Mekubulani, it's a Kabbalah, it's Halacha Moshe Misinai, it's a din in Yibum, it's not a din asay dochalos asay. So I just wanted to go clarify that because I think I said yesterday, the lois asay of Yibum, the lois asay of marrying Eish Shesach is a chorus. There's no havamina that asay dochalos asay of Yibum. It's the lois asay of Almana to a Kohen Gadol. So that was the piece of Torah. If you listen to it, it's a very, very nice piece. You can listen to it now. I just taped it again. Okay, now with that, let's begin. Ayin Zion on mid base. Okay. Tan Rabbanan, 1, 2, 3, 4 lines from the bottom. Tan Rabbanan. Okay, so now the pasuk that we need, the pasuk that we need is Bonim Asher Yivoldu Lehem, the children that will be born to them. Dor Shlishi Yavai Lehem B'Kal Hashem. This pasuk, guys, we need this pasuk. Have it in front of you. It's Devarim Chav Gimel Tes. Devarim Chav Gimel Tes. For those people who are lucky enough to be over here, you're going to have it on the screen in front of you. Okay, it says Leisasavi Adomi, do not hate an Adomi ki achicha, because he's your brother. Leisasavi Mitzri ki ger yisi be'artzai, you are ger in his land. You were getting in the land of the Pelishtim, so you shouldn't go ahead, Rod, and detest him. The children that will be born to them, the fourth generation, Yavar lehem b'kal Hashem. So just notice the lashon of Yivoldu, and notice there's two lehems in the pasuk. Lehem dar shlishi, Yavar lehem b'kal Hashem. So those are the psukim. That's the pasuk that we're going to darshan for half a block. Kanabanan, bonim v'lei bonais. Divrei Reb Shimon, as Reb Shimon said yesterday, that the din of mitzvahs is only male mitzvah. You have to wait 3 generations. He said a kal v'choyme from Ammoni. Just Amonis Asa Issa Oilam, yet let Amonis is permitted right away. Over here by Mitzri, which is permitted after 3 generations, and then that the female should be permitted right away. Good. So that's Rabbi Yehuda Harioim. It says Bonim Asher Yivoldu Lehem Dar Shlishi Hakasav Talin Beleda. So 2 pshatim. 1, the Torah makes it contingent upon birth. So look at Rashi, guys. From the bottom, Asher Yivoldu. Yiladu, Kol Anoldim Lehem, I feel in the cave of Masha. It says the children that are born, Mashma, any child. In other words, Bonim Asher Yivoldu Lehem, any child born, so whether it's a male or a female, Dar Shlishi Yavoy. So what? The female also, after 3 generations, Yavoy can come in. Lishnachrina, Tala Beleda, Tala Habonim, Be'aim. The aim is Tali by the mother, she led us some. Dim Hiri Shaina. Haben Sheni, the Elav, the Kavas Asuris, Lamai Hilchsa Tala Beleda. In other words, when it says over here Leda, what's the nafkamin of Leda? To know which generation of Leda. If it's the first generation of Leda, then the child is the second generation. If it's the second generation of Leda, the child is the third generation. If you're going to tell me the Nekeva is Mutta, so there is no purpose behind the what? Ella, so when you say Yivoldu, it's Tali Leda, it must be that what? The Leda plays a role. If she's Mutta, there's nothing to talk about. So that would be a very geshmak pshat. Okay. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda goes ahead and he says that this is Tali Yomad in Leda, and it means that it must be that the woman is Asa. Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, he loved Rabbi Yehuda Hakosef Tolim Beleda. If not for Rabbi Yehuda saying that the Torah goes ahead and is Tolim Beleda, if not for the Torah go ahead and saying that, then you know what? Loimatza Yadav Araglav Beis HaMedrash. This din with this pshat in the pasuk would not be able to stand up in the Beis HaMedrash. Why? Kivin the Amamar Kahal Gerim Ikra Kahal, the Kahal of the Geris Kol a Kahal Mitzri Sheni b'Mayitoher. Guys, listen to this. Listen to this. How does a Mitzri Sheni work? So you have a Rishon, a Mitzri, that's easiest way. A Mitzri Rishon marries a Mitzri Rishon, Charles a Mitzri Sheni. Charles a Mitzri Sheni. You have a Sheni marrying a Sheni, then the child what is a Shlishi. That's the easiest way. That's the way it works. That's the way, then you're done. Now, if you hold that a Ger is called the Kahal, yes, good. And you're holding that the female is Mutta, right away, that would make her what? A full-fledged Gyaris. Clean and neat, yes? Can a Mitzri Rishon marry a Ger if you consider it's Kahal? La Yavai Mitzri, only the third generation can marry the Kahal. The first generation, second generation can't. So it's got to be that the female is Asa, because if she was Mutter right away, and Rabbi Yehuda holds it's called Kahal, you never have the Hechatimtza of being Mitaher a Mitzri. It's a beautiful, that's why, if not for the fact that we had this liman of Sheyivoldu, that in fact the Leda we count 1, 2, 3, and you would tell me that a Mitzri is mutter right away, the Mitzris is mutter right away. If the Mitzris is mutter right away, that would make and Rabbi Yehuda holds it's Kahal. So it's only after Dar Shlishi can they come in the Kahal. 1 and 2 can't. So how would you ever go ahead and be able to do it? It's a Gavalda Raya. Gavalda Gavalda there from Rabbi Yehuda. Okay, from Rabbi Yochanan. Says the Gemara, I got an eitzah. Dilma di'avin v'nasiv. You know what? You're not supposed to, but if you do it, then it's going to be what? Permitted. So really, she's mutter. She is a ger, and she can't marry what? A mitzvah. But if she marries a mitzri, then what? So he marries a mitzri, then it's going to be okay. So it comes out, the Torah wrote a pasuk for doing an Aveira, a bit heaven. In other words, really, the Echatimsa is not shaykh. It's not shaykh. You can't do it. It doesn't work. But if it works, this is the din. The Torah is not writing it. Says the Gemara, Di'i aviv v'nasiv. For the Gemara, Di'i, like Sivkra, right? We don't write a pasuk for a Di'i, for a person doing something that's wrong. We don't write a pasuk for that. Says you know, Harimamza Di'i, the Kasvei Kra. Guys, how does the Mamza come about? Through a Chayvei Krisus. They comes about through an Aveira. So you told me lo yavam mamzer b'Hashem. Why are you telling me there's no such thing as the mamzer? After all, right? It's only kazra machmas and aveira. And for the Gemara, the ili surah kosiv, the e for an issa, all right. The e le'teir le kosiv. So to usher a mamza, to make, in other words, to tell me something it's usher, I got to know the din. But to say that the heta will come about through an aveira, that I won't do it, which makes a lot of sense. You know, if a person creates a mamza, I got to know lo yovik b'al Hashem. But the mata, mitzri, al yidei aveira, that makes no sense. Really? Hari machzeh grushasai. Okay, what's machzeh grushasai? A man divorces his wife. She marries somebody else. He becomes an almana or a grusha from the second husband. If he takes her back, it's called a tayeva. Good? Now, you're telling me halacha that's al yidei what? Adi says, you know what the heter is, guys? He tayeva, the ein b'neha tayeva. We had this earlier in the Masechta. She's a tayeva, meaning that she's asa, but her husband is not. Her children aren't. So here it's a heter. The heter is that the child is not a tayeva. So you're writing a pasuk the hetera. Says no, we didn't write it for the children over there. Hasam mishum ike isurahu. Over there it was what? Over there it was what? It was ike isur. Over here is ike isur, meaning to tell me that she's a tayeva. To tell me that she's a tayeva. That's why I wrote it. Hasam mishum the ike isurahu de kasve. It was written what for the ike isur. Rashi says, "Hasam mishumika issa kasvei lashminon the iyumi tayevahi that she's a tayeva." That's what it's written for. It's not written for the hekta. It's written for that. So l'chayra Rabbi Yochanan made his point. It better be the abanam ashayi voldu is what is any child that comes about or any child that's born from her. We count 1, 2, 3 because you're going to tell me what she's mutta, and then and Rabbi Yehuda holds what that kahal gerim ikri kahal. Therefore, you never have vad of mitzrishen and mitzrishen, sheni and shlishi. Now, going back to the pasuk, okay, guys, we're going back to this pasuk. We're going to get dash in this pasuk through and through. Okay, again, what's the pasuk? Bonim asher yivoldu lehem dor shlishi yavay lehem b'kal Hashem. The bonim that are born to lehem from them, dor shlishi yavay lehem b'kal Hashem. So let's see what the Torah is going to do with this pasuk. The Gemara. Tanrabanim. Im noimar banim lo menem adoiris. Banim asher yivol lehem dor shlishi. Once, if you tell sons, why do you have to tell generations? Whereas you say banim, you say dor shlishi. Why do you have to say both? Im nem adoiris, you say doris lo menem banim. Says the Gemara. Im nem banim v'lei nem adoiris. If you would say banim and you wouldn't say doris. You know what I'd say? Ben rishoy b'sheni asa shlishi muta. Meaning, what would you say? I have children, right? I have children. You don't say Daris. So my third son could come in. I'm married. I'm a mitzri. I'm married. I have 1 son, 2 sons. Let's say Daris. Banim. My third son would be able to marry the Kal Hashem. If you wouldn't say Daris, you wouldn't know it's like generations going down. You would simply say what? It's your generation, right? It's your right. If it says Dairis, we're not speaking about one generation, we're speaking about one after the other. The Nema Dairis, and if it say Dairis, now this is a Shvera Havamina, guys. It's speaking about, Rashi says, the Jews on Har Sinai, that the Jews on Har Sinai, 3 generations would be Asa, but afterwards it would be Mutta. That for your children for all time, not just what for that generation. Obviously, the kasha is the Torah is going to give you a mitzvah that was only noyig, like so. There's a Taisus Rabbeinu Peretz. You do the research yourself. It's a shvera havmina. So again, if it wouldn't say bonim, it was just say right. Say doiris. I'd say the Dor HaMidbar and 2 generations after that. But after that, it says okay, bonim ashi voldu. Now lahem darshin the pasuk. So we darshin the bonim asher yivoldu. Now we're darshin the first lahem. Lahem mayhem. Right? Mayhem mana. You count from them. In other words, the first generation is the Mitzri himself, not the first child born. The first child born is a Sheni. He's a Rishon. The first child born is a Sheni. Mayhem from them. Lahem, the second Lahem, what do we dash it for? that halach acher psulim, that we go after psulim, right? Yeah, you go after what? Psulim. In other words, if a Mitzri marries a Jewess, you go after the Mitzri. If a Jew marries a Mitzri, you go after the Mitzri. You'll always go after the Mitzri. You don't, you're going to play whether it's a male Mitzri and a female, a Jewish woman, or it's a Jewish man and a female Mitzri. You can always go after the Psulim. Says Asher Yivoldu. You have to write Lahem, and you have to write Levadu. Because Rachmana Asher Yivoldu Havaminam Mibeinei Hamona. I would say when you start counting from the first child born, that would be the first generation. Because Rachmana Lahem, you start counting from them. They're the first generation. Because Rachmana Lahem, and not write Yivoldu Havamina Mitzis Muberesh Niskaria, a mitzvah that is pregnant is Megayer, he ubeno chad. I would say why they counted only as one, right? Because Rachmana Asher Yivoldu, Kamashmon that this child that she's pregnant with is a sheni. Kamashmon is the second generation. Vitzich Michav Lahem, the second Lahem. Vitzich Michav Loi. By the Mamza, it says Layav and Mamza B'Kal Hashem. Dara Siri Gam Layav B'Kal Hashem. We have this as the top pasuk over here. Layav and Mamza B'Kal Hashem. Gam Dara Siri Layav Loi. So Lahem is for them, the Mitzrim. Loi is for him. Why do you have to write both? Because of Man Mahacha over here by Mitzri, Mishun the Bami Tipa Psula. Of course, the Mitzri comes from a Tipa Psula. It's a Mitzri. Aval, it's a t-shirt. Aval Mamze the Bami Tipa Kshera, but the Mamze that's born from a Jew who's a Tipa Kshera Emaloi, I would say that what is not Aser. The child's not Aser because Rachmana Gabe Mamzer Mishum Dein Roy Levar B'Kahal Loilam. The Aval Hacha Emaloi, but over here I'd say not by what? By Mitzri. So it's to tell me in both cases. Omar Rab Rav Chan Omar Yechnan. Mitzri Sheni Shenasa Mitzri Rishayna. So you have a 2 and a 1. You have a 2 and a 1. Which do you count? If you go after the man, it's going to be a shlishi. If you go after the woman, it's going to be what? A sheni. You got a man's a 2, the woman's a 1. What's the child? Says Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Chan and Rabbi Yochanan, b'no shlishi. So you're going after what? The man. You're going after the man. He's going to be considered what? He's going to be considered a shlishi. You're going to go after the man. You're going to go after the man. Alma, what do you see? Alma, what do you see? That basa didei shadinamli. We go ahead and we throw it what? After him. Now, the question is just a very good question. You just told me before you go after the psul. Okay. Mendy, hang in there. You're asking Gvaldi Kasha. It's a toisus. You're mechaber to a toisus in Masech the Kedushin. Daf Samach Gimel Amid Aleph. Okay, what does toisus say? So Bendy's asking like this. Over here, you're being more right. You're being more lenient, right? You're being more lenient. You're going after him. You're making it a shlishi rather than a sheni. Yet you told me when you have a Yisrael, you go after the psul. What's the obvious answer? When do you go after the psul? When it's 2 different nations. When it's a mitzvah with a Jew, you'll go after the psul. When it's 2 mitzrim, right? When it's a mitzri sheni and a mitzri rishon, it depends. You'll go after whatever the man is. But there, it's what? It's then they're both what? They're both what? They're both psulim. Got it? That's the Taisus answer to kasha. Okay, very geschmack. Very Mendy, excellent. Really got to give you something for the fridge one day, you know.
Steak.
A lollipop. You're right. Okay, I'll bring you a lollipop. Okay. Says the Gemara. Okay, so now, Al Muksava Basi Dei Shatin Late. Masa Rabbi Yosef. Rav Tarfon says, Yecholim Mamzerim Litoher. I have a way of eventually getting the family of Mamzerim to be Tahar. In other words, there's a Hechet Timsa where we can get the family of Mamzerim that they should be Tahar. Why would that be? Ketzad Mamzer Nasai Shivcha. So now, is the child a Mamzer or is the child an Eved? Havlad Eved. The Vlad is an Eved. Right. Therefore, what happens when you free an Eved? Shechraru Nimsa ben Chayrin. Alma Basa Didasha Dinanle. Guys, Kasha. We have a way of being Matara a Mamzer. That's neither here nor there. It's not our discussion. So you have a Mamzer goes ahead and lives with a Shivcha. The child's an Eved. Who are we going after? Her, right? That's the kasha. Boy, you told me 2 and 3. The man's a 2. You're going to make a 3. Over here, you're saying you're going after her. You're saying that the child's an Eved and the child's not a mamzer. So you see, basa di da, not basa di day. That's the kasha that Rabbi Yosef is asking on Rabbi Chana. And for the Gemara, I'll tell you, shiny hasam, it's different by Eved. Really, you go after him. You know why you go after the shivcha when it was with a mamzer? The Omakra, it says in Parshas Mishpatim, where a man gives a head and gives his Eved Ivri a shivcha kananis to produce more. The Yiddish word is kenechta, a little more kenechtelach, not kenedlach, kenechtelach. The Omakra, ha'isha v'yiladeha tia ladoneha. The woman and her offspring will be to her master. It doesn't go after the husband. It goes with her. So we have a Gezeris HaKasa by an Eved that it goes after her. But all the other times it goes after him. Okay. Masav Rava. Rav Yehuda, Minyamin ger Mitzri Hayil, Minyamin ger Mitzri Hayil Lichavim Yitamir Rabbi Kiva. I had a friend, Minyamin, he was again Mitzri, from Rabbi Kiva. For Amma, Ani Mitzri Rishon, he said, I'm a Mitzri Rishon. V'nasasi Mitzvah Rishona, and I married a one. So we're one and a one. Asi Libani Mitzvah Shnia, I'll marry my son off to a Sheni, Kadeshi Ben Bini, Roy Lova Bekal. In order that what? My grandson should be a Shlishi. If you're telling me you go after him, once he's a Sheni, guys, he can marry a Rishon. Why does he have to marry a Sheni? The only way we're making a Sheni is because he's marrying a Shlishi, is he marrying a Sheni. But really, if you're going after him, as long as he's a Sheni, you're good. Afraid the Gemara Galda Kasha. I feel Rishona Nami, even if you marry a Rishona. So obviously what? You must be, when you need a Sheni, it must be Basa Dida. Says Gemara, no. Rabbi Yochanan Latana Tani Rishon. Enachinami. Rabbi Yochanan told the reciter of the Brisa, say Rishona, that in other words, that learn Rishona, feel Rishona, that even if he marries a Rishona, the child will be a Shlishi. Don't say that Minyamin that had to marry his child off to a Sheni, even if he married a child off to a Rishona, since he's a Sheni, the child will be a Shlishi. As long as he's a Sheni, the child will be a Shlishi. When Rav Dimi came, he said to Rabbi Yochanan, Mitzri Sheni, Shenasas Mrs. Rishona, Bina Sheni Havi. A Mitzri Sheni, he's a two. Who marries a one, the child is a two. So in other words, you're going after the woman. You're going after the woman, guys. A Mitzri Sheni, he's a two. Shenasas Mrs. Rishona, who marries a one. Bina Sheni, the child is a two. The child is a two. In other words, we're going to go ahead and say that what we go after her. Alma Basa Ime Shadina, like we go after the mother. Now, in conjunction with going after the mother, let's say the mother is Uba Yerech Imo, that the fetus that's inside is considered part of the mother. That's why we're going after the mother. The Uba is inside is going after the mother. To understand the next piece of Gemara, you just need a piece of information. We've had it before, but it's one that seems to, again, we forget often. Only the Gemara, we goes from this, we're jumping around. Kachim, guys, Kachim. Didn't Kachim. There's 5 chatas shemesais. In other words, these are chatas that die. In other words, I have no resort but to let them die. One, if the master dies, the guy who the Baal Carbon, if the owner of the carbon dies and he doesn't need a kapara anymore, that chatas dies. If the chatas was lost, he bought another one instead, and he found it, chatas shekipra baleha, he got his kapara, that one dies. If it's a chatas that was over its year, dies. Chatas that tumuras chatas, you said zu kazu, it dies. Good. And one more, chatas that's ben shnasa, vlad chatas, the most important one I say for last. The vlad chatas dies. If it's a vlad chatas, dies. Good. Now we're going to ask on this. You're telling me that uba yerech ima, right? So let's say a man has a chatas that's pregnant, and he goes ahead and he says, this animal, this pregnant cow, is my chatas. The animal is born. If he wants, he can bring either one. If he wants, he can bring either one. All right. So where would you have the case of chatas that of vlad chatas? That's if when it got pregnant after you weren't, when you were magdash it wasn't pregnant, and it got pregnant afterwards. That would be the case of what of chatas that chatas that the vlad chatas. So over here, listen to this halacha. You're telling me that what is yerech imo. I really don't want you walking here, okay? I don't want you walking here. Thank you. That's what I'm looking at you. It's not stay upstairs, walk around. Don't walk here. Thank you. I'm Michael you. They don't get it. They don't get it. Okay. Anyway, so here, so guys, so you have over here, you have guys a case of what of he took an animal, she was pregnant, he separated the animals, magdish the animal, gives birth, he can be either one. If you could bishlem, if you tell me an uba is lav yerachimo, it's not considered part of the mother, so it's like he separated a chatos and insurance. I separated a chatos and insurance. I separated two chatos, meaning I'm bringing one. If that doesn't work out, I'll bring the other one. But if you can tell me uba yerachimo, then this is considered of vlad chatos and it should die. And anyway, but you say you could bring it, so that's the kasha. You just told me now that uba yerachimo. What's the raya uba yerachimo from Mitzri Rishoin? That if the husband's a two and the mother's a one, the child is a two because the uba is considered yerachimo. So over here, we have a problem. Says the Gemara. Let's see it inside. El hodam Rabbi Yochanan hifish chatos miuberes. If a person separates a pregnant chatos, v'yolda, and it consequently gives birth. If it wants, he could use the animal. If he wants, he can use the child. So if you're going to tell me the child is not considered part of the mother, it's as if he separated an animal and another animal for what? For insurance. If you go ahead and separate two chatois and one's for achrayas, mischaper ba'achas mehen, you can mischaper one of them. Vashnia tiroa, and the second one you should graze. Eli amid uba yerachimahu. If you're going to tell me what the uba is considered yerachimo, havile vlad chatos, then the animal, the baby should be vlad chatos. Vlad chatos lemisa asla, and vlad chatos is one of the chamesha chatos shemesa. So Ishtik, Rav Dimi was quiet when Abaye asked him this question. Ishtik, guys, you got it? So we want to say from mitzvahs that uba yerachimo, and we want to prove from Kodshim that uba lav yerachimo. Amalei, Abaye told him, Dil mishani hasam, maybe it's different by mitzvahs. Dichsiv asher yivoldu, hakosiv tali beleda. In other words, really be'emes uba lav yerachimo. And since uba lav yerachimo, by the korban, you can bring both. You can bring both. Over here, you're going to say that what? That it's considered a sheni after she, right? You considered what? It's because there it's Tali and Leda. Since it's Tali, it's Tali and Leda. Since it's Tali and Leda, we'll consider what? The next generation. So there, in other words, we'll consider go after the mother. Since it's Asher Yivoldu, we'll go after the mother, not the father, because after all, that is where it comes from. So Amalei said Rav Dimi Tabaya Kakafna. That's a lotion of Adam Choshev. Chazisul Reishech. I saw your head between the amudim in the yeshiva. Kiyam Rabbi Yochanan al Hashmaitz. Rabbi Yochanan was saying the sugya. So in other words, you're not repeating your own stuff. This teretz, this chilik you're giving that Asher Yivoldu is different. But over here we'll say, of course, Asher Yivoldu is totally in the mother. Time of the cost of Asher Yivoldu. Alma basa avu shadin, right? So now it must be that all over. Usually say Asher Yivoldu, but normally what we say Ubala Yevimo. Elhoda Marava, Nachris Mu Berish and Isgaria. So you're telling me Ubalav Yerachimo, right, guys? When you say you go after the father, Ubalav Yerachimo. Now you have a child that's in its. She's Megaya with a pregnant child. Halacha is when the child is born, he does not need another tefillah. She's Toivel L'Shem Geiris. When the child is born, you don't need another tefillah. Good. Now, can you view the mother as a chatzitza to the child? Ain't chatzitza gedel misu. You got a chatzitza and chatzitza. You got an amniotic sac. You got a placenta. You got plenty of stuff blocking, right? It's a very good shmak. Says the Gemara. Nachas mu'beres shenis gaira b'no a child ain't tzarch tefillah. Amay ain't tzarch tefillah. Why don't you need tefillah? After all, if uba lav yerech imahu, you have a chatzitza. It's bishlem of uba yerech imahu. It's considered that she's toivel ag of the mother. But if uba lav yerech imahu, and you're telling me since by kodshim you see it works, that's lav yerech imahu. And the only reason by mitzvahs is Asher Yivoldu. So therefore, v'chitem mishum de Rabbi Yitzchak, you're going to say the reason why it works is because Rabbi Yitzchak's in the chatzitza, which we saw in Masech the Erev and Masech the Sukkah. Dam Rabbi Yitzchak devar Torah ruboy umakbir alav chaytzitz. Ruboy if it's covering the majority of the body or the majority of the hair, we'll see. Makbid, and a person that stares, then chaitzitz is a barrier to the water. Ruboy she'einay makbid alav, or ruboy that you're not makbid on, ain't a chaitzitz. Okay, so over here, she obviously is not makbid, right? Over here, she's not makbid. Says the Gemara, the din Rabbi Yitzchak el ruboy, aval kulay chaitzitz. If it's kulay, even if you're not makbid, it's chaitzitz. So back to the original question. So how can you say uba lav yerech imo? Yet tell me what that the tefillah for the mother counts for the what for the fetus. So it's more shiny uber. The haini revi say uber is different because this is the way that what that it grows, right? His life. This is his what? It's his life source. It's the way he lives. So really uba lav yerech imo. But the reason why this is oila for him because this is the way it goes. It's not a chatzitza. In other words, it's part of a normal anatomy, and this is the normal anatomy. This is the way it is. It's not considered a chatzitza, but really obalav yarachimai. Kiyasa Ravina Am Rabbi Yochanan Anudin v'umois when regarding the halacha of leisachaya kol neshama, it says regarding the zayin umois guys leisachaya kol neshama, you can't let what anyone live. Leisachaya kol neshama, you can't let them live. Good. That's what it says about by the zayin umois, and there hoylachach hazacha. What makes one from the zayin umis, the mother or the father, the zachar. This gairu, once there's gairis, you go after the pogam in both of them. The Gemara explains. But umois regarding the zayin umis and the din of leisachaya kol neshama, halachacha hazachar. You go after what the male kidetanya. Minayin leecha min umois sheba al kananis. How do you know one person from not the zayin umis lives with a kananis from the zayin umis? So it's a female zayin umis person. V'hoylid ben, and she has a son, Shatar Shoylik Noisle be'eved, that there's no mitzvah to kill this child, but you can be kind to him, Shnemar. The Gam b'nei atayishavim hagarim machem, and also from the people of who are living with you, meaning they came from another nation, and not tayshavim, they're living with you. So therefore, may him tiknu. The pasuk says, from then you could acquire. So you see, if you come from another nation, even if the female is from the Zayin Umais, nonetheless you're able to go be kaina as an eved. I might think that what? That the male issue, Canaan, has a relationship with one. I might think you could. Even if the mother is born in your land, but if the man lives in your land, if he's going in your land, then what? You have to kill that one. So we see over here, you go after what? You go after the male issue. The second, there was Niskayu, you go after the pagam of both of them. Niskayu, hola acha pagam shebashneim. Then what exactly are we speaking about? Now, my pagam shebashneim, islay. Amani b'lay amonis. Guys, when it says pagam shebashneim, what does it mean? Each one is pagam. Guys, pagam shebashneim, each one is pagam. If it's a male mitzri with a female hamonis, there's only one pogam, only the mitzri. She's permitted in Kal Hashem. Right? So that can't be the case. El must be ba'amoni shenasa mitzvahs. Okay, now you have two begonim anamoni shenasa mitzvahs. Zacha have. Now you have to go. It's a zacha shadya basa amoni. You go with the pekam name, guys. If you have a zacha marrying what a zacha amoni. Marrying a mitzvah. So if the child is a male, if we're going to go after what the mitzvah, it's going to be allowed into Kal Hashem. So you go after the pagam, you go after the fact that the father was Ammon, will make the child Ammon. Conversely, in the keva, it's in the keva, you're going to throw after the mitzvah because you throw after Ammon, it'll be permitted right away. So in the keva, he shad yabas the mitzvah, that'll at least delay it for what 2 generations, for another generation. Okay, so we went through the halachas of. We went through the halachas of Layava B'Tzuadaka B'Kal Hashem. We went through the halachas of Layavi Amoni Mayavi B'Kal Hashem. And now we get to Layavi Mamza B'Kal Hashem. Okay, so we're familiar with Mamza. We had early in the Masechta, we had a Machlokes. Rabbi Kiva says a Mamza is from Chayve Lavin. Shimon Amsuni says a Mamza is from Chayve Krisis. We pass like him. Rabbi Yeshua said only from Chayve Mises Bezdin, not even Chayve Krisis. So a mamza in that union. Now the pasuk, v'medaik in the pasuk. Listen what it says. Layavay mamza b'kal Hashem, gam asiri layavay lay b'kal Hashem. even 10 generations it should not come in. It doesn't say anything about it forever, guys. It doesn't say la'olam. It just says for 10 generations. Just as 10 generations. However, by Ammon and Moab, it says la'yavoi Ammon and Moavi b'kal Hashem, gam dar asiri la'yavoi lahem b'kal Hashem ad olam. There it says ad olam. So it says asiri by Mamza. It says asiri by Ammoni, and it says by Ammoni ad olam. Okay, let's see what we do with that. Says the Gemara. Mamzerim unesinim. Today we're going to focus on mamzerim. Unesinim are the Gavonim. That's tomorrow's shia. I'm going to stop a little early today because it flows into the next half. So mamzerim unesinim asurim v'isurim is olam. They're also to come to Kal Hashem, and it's as opposed to mitzvahs, which is permitted after 3 generations. They're also forever. Now, echad zacharim ve'echad nekevos, as opposed to Ammon and Moab, where the females permitted by the mamzer and the sin. Okay, so it seems the mamzer and the sin are the most severe of all. By Ammon and Moab, at least the female issue is permitted. And eventually, by Mitzri, 3rd generation is permitted. By mamzer, right, no one's permitted. A, forever, and B, regardless of being male or female. Good? Okay, now, the Gemara is going to suggest and say that a mamzeres, after 10 generations, should be permitted in. The Gemara is going to suggest that a mamzeres, after 10 generations, should be permitted in. Why? Because look at the pasuk. It says, "La yavai mamzer b'kal Hashem, gam dar asiri la yavai b'kal Hashem." Good. Now, where are you learning it from? You're learning la yavai amoini miyavi b'kal Hashem, gam dar asiri la yavai b'kal Hashem ad olam. So you're learning the mamzer is aser ad olam from Ammon, but Ammon, the female, is permitted. So, guys, listen to the Geshmak B'Shat. Guys, listen up. For 10 up till 10 generations, I do not need a limud to go ahead and aser the mamzer. It says that in the pasuk. I needed the gezer shava to Ammon and Moab for 10 generations and up, because it says mefurish 10 generations by mamzer. It says 10 generations mefurish by Ammon, but it is by Ammon 2 words ad olam. So the gezer shava only kicks in when after 10. What's the halacha by what by Ammon and Moab? The female's permitted. Says Reish Lakish, therefore the female mamzeris is permitted after 10 generations. Right? Our Mishnah says not. What's the svaras hamachlokes? So we've seen in Gezer Shavas the following machlokes. Doik mina, umina, or doik mina, v'uki abasra. What does that mean? When you have a Gezer Shava and you want to learn out something, once you learn out that one din, do you continue to learn? Or no, it stops at that point. So over here, from the Torah, I would only know a mamzes asa guys up to how many generations? 10. Where do I know ad olam from? From Ammon and Moab. Good. So then that's what I have to learn. That's what I have to learn. I have to learn that there's a din of ad olam by the mamzer. Stop there. Stop there. Don't learn any more. That's what our Mishnah does. I know a mamza is asa ad olam, and a female mamza is also asa ad olam. That's doik mina v'uki abasra. What does doik mina umina mean? Once you learn, you continue to learn. So what did I learn? I learned not only 10 from Ammon and Moab, I also learned what? Olam ad Moab. And now I'm going to continue to learn, just like Ammon and Moab, male and not female, who did mamza, male and not female. So the way the svaras hamachlokes is contingent upon whether we stop learning after our mission or we continue our mission and continues on. So that's the limit obvious. Let's see it inside, and everything will be good. Bishmak. It says the Gemara. Omer Reish Lakish, mamzeres la'achar aser storis muteres. A mamzeres after 10 generations is permitted. Yolaf asiri me'amoni umoyavi. Ma'ala halan, just like Ammon and Moab, nekevus mutaris, afkan nekevus mutaris. If you'll ask, imala halan miyad, immediately, afkan miyad, the mamzeres should be permitted immediately. It says, Markia hani gezer shava me asiri ve'elach. I only need the geshara from Asiri onward, because it says Asiri openly by the mamzer. So I don't need it. The gezer shava is only from 10 and on. I've an antanan mamzerim and asinim asurim ve'isa oilam. So how can Reish Lakish argue on our Mishnah? Says the Gemara echaz kram ech nekevos lekasha. How command am doik mina umina. Reish Lakish goes to Guman Yom, who says we can learn and we continue to learn. So guys, I learned out Ad Olam, and I continue to learn about female. Our Mishnah, Doik Mina, learn out that it doesn't mean you're not stopping by 10, you're going at Olam like it says by Ammon, but I'm not going to go learn any more, and I won't learn anything regarding the female, and she'll remain Asa. Sholos Rebbe Eliezer, Mamzeres Lachasar Doramahu. Rebbe Eliezer is asking the Shaila of Reish Lakish then. He said to Rabbi Eliezer, Rabbi Eliezer said to them, Mi yitain li dor shlishi v'tarenu. Find me a third generation of Mamzerim, and I'll be matar them. Meaning there won't be any few generations. Hashem goes ahead and removes Mamzerim from the world. Al Mukasava, Mamzara, Loichai. We see a Mamzer doesn't live. Of course, you're saying, find me a third generation. The Chenam Rav Huna, Mamzara, Loichai, they don't live. They don't live. Fred the Gemara, Banantanan, Mamzerim, Asurim, Isis, Oilam. Mishnah's mashma, they live ganz fine, and therefore you have to ask forever. Rabbi Zeira, L'didim Yifashli Mine de Rav Yehuda. What does that mean? If we know it's a Mamzer, Chai, they live. Why are we worried about Mamzer living? We don't want that genealogy getting mixed in the Klal Yisrael, right? It's not. We try to be Matara, Kodesh Baruch, the Ovis and Matara from the Sahama of the Nachash. We had to go ahead and cleanse. We finally got ourselves spiritually cleansed. We can't have the Mamzer mixed since they were born from a union of Issa. We can't have it mixed in. So if you knew who it was, they would live. Because why? There's no problem. The Lo Yediyah, but if we wouldn't know, they die right away. If you don't know, they die right away. The Yediyah of Lo Yediyah, you do know, but it's not so clear, or it may be forgotten, then I'll tell Sidari. Chai. Tfeilei Chai. They live up to 3 and not more than that. So it depends. But again, I thought something very interesting. Just to throw this out for the doctors in the Olam. There's a Ramban. Ramban says that a reason Hashem, it's us to crossbreed. It's us to crossbreed. It's not permitted. HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want crossbreeding. The Ramban says in Parshas Achemos, if Hashem wanted it in the world, He would have put it in the world. If He wanted it, He would have put it in the world. And the raya is that they can't reproduce. Anything that's crossbred is like sama sterile, and even the ones that like Mendel's peas, pedigree, you'll get some blacks, some whites. You're not going to get exactly what. So a mamzer is a type of crossbreeding, right? It's a union of Hashem doesn't want in this world. So Mamela will be very geschmack explaining more here why they died. Hashem doesn't want this in the world. It might be a way of understanding things. Okay, says the Gemara Vaita. There was this mamzer, the Havi b'shesrisa de Ravami, that was in the name of Ravami. Akris Aloha de Mamzara Havi, and he went ahead and he announced that she's a mamzer. He was crying, Vazel. He was crying. So Amalei. So Ravami told him, Chayim Nasati L'cha, I gave you life. Because if people didn't know you're a mamzer, you would die. By me going ahead and announcing you're a mamzer, you're going to live. Okay, we're going to stop over here. Bez Hashem. We'll continue tomorrow. Thank you, everyone, for listening.